can't be a specialist anymore. You cannot be a specialist in MMA and win and compete and get to the highest levels. It used to be that way. Everybody would come in as a specialist, as a matter of fact, with whatever that might be. They were a collegiate wrestler. They had been to Abu Dhabi for their jiu-jitsu skills. They were a K1 veteran. This is very normal. When I started the sport, that represented everybody. Right? They'd done karate since they were a little kid. Their dad owned a studio. Did all their homework and even slept on the mats. They lived at this karate gym. It's very normal. They see the value to wrestling. They add that, get over to something called mixed martial arts. And then when they compete, their opponent is going to have a similar story of what his preferred specialty is. And everything else that he's doing is just as a way to protect yourself so we can get back to that realm, and you'd better look out because now you're in my world. This was very common. As dull as I found it to hear that story over and over, it didn't make it any less accurate. And then all of a sudden, something called mixed martial arts came out. Now, mixed martial arts, while you might be a historian and know that the UFC started in 1993, mixed martial arts is a term that didn't come around until 2001. So your ability to go and find a mixed martial arts gym, it didn't exist. There was nowhere you could drive it down the road, you look up on a sign. There was no sign anywhere that said mixed martial arts studio. Nobody would sign up. Nobody would even know what you were talking about. Relevant. It's very relevant that you understand this point. So they needed to get a bill passed through the Nevada State Legislature. They had to call it something, and they named it mixed martial arts. And that was the day that was formed, but it still took another decade until you had a mixed martial arts gym. It was after that point of the bill being passed and that vernacular being created and accepted that gyms would begin to have a mixed martial arts program. Or you could come to this gym, and we do have people pursuing mixed martial arts, but not the actual name of the studio, mixed martial arts. I share that with you because we don't have the specialists anymore, I'm told. We have a new breed. We have a new breed of fighter, kids that started in a mixed martial arts gym, which was their first foray into any form of combat, and they were 9 and 10 years old when they did it, and those guys are coming up, and therefore, there is no need for specialties. This narrative is out there. This narrative is produced and reproduced, gurgitated or regurgitated. But is it true? Is that true? Alex Pereira, who's never had a wrestling match of any kind, no grappling match, no wrestling, no singlet, no gi. Would you call him a specialist? I think you would. Israel Adesanya certainly got a lot of attention for a guy that never had a wrestling match or a grappling match of any kind, came through kickboxing. Wouldn't you call him a specialist? Holly Holm, all the way back to 2014, she became the champion of the world. She didn't have a judo match, a wrestling match, a jiu-jitsu match that I've ever heard of. Wouldn't you call her a specialist? And I bring that to you because I'm now looking at the most lopsided odds on the entire card, and they favor Kayla Harrison. Now, would you disagree with that? I mean, based on what you've seen from Kayla, and you've seen this domination, you've seen this power and strength, and now she's even illustrated and shown us that she can get down to 135 pounds. Before I tell you anything else, I haven't even told you her opponent's name. I haven't told you if it's 3 rounds or 5 rounds. Is there a part of you that's going, oh yeah, Kayla, yeah, without even knowing the card, yeah, she's the most dominant? Because that's what DraftKings is saying. They got her as a 10-1. 10-1 favorite. You must bet $1,000 to win 100. Now, there's things out there called a sure thing. This would go into the category of a believed or perceived sure thing. But isn't it interesting that it comes from a specialist? We have 2 tournaments right now in the UFC. And Dana White does not love that term. He does not love that marketing aspect. He's never done it, and he's not going to start. I come from a wrestling background. I know tournaments. My favorite sporting event is the Olympic Games. Every single category is in a straight line bracket because they're tournaments. So I've just shared, maybe I've got a biasness and I enjoy tournaments. But there's no mention of it, and we've got one right now. It's coming up Saturday. We have a 10-1 favorite in Kayla Harrison. And then we have the world title being contested between Pennington and Pena. The winner of each fight will fight each other for the world championship. I think that's fascinating. I think that's incredible. I love tournaments. And now we're going to get the semifinals, both of them on the main card on Saturday. I love this. I love the story. The number one question we always have, it's never who won, it's what's next. That is the most powerful and commonly asked question at the post-fight press conference. What happens next? It's a very rare time that we can answer it, that we know. And here we have Kayla Harrison is a 10-1 favorite. She goes into the category, right? The coveted category of sure thing. How often do we see that? I think it's a big deal, and I think it's meaningful. I don't mind people coming in and saying, well, it's this new breed of fighter. And you had to start this when you were 10 or 11. Like, I don't mind that, other than it's not true. Remember when Damian Maia had to re-explain this to the world, that no, one art will do as long as you do it this way. I just think that's fascinating, personally. And judo has never had a level of success in our sport. Ronda Rousey and Kayla Harrison, instead of being pitted against each other, or pitted against fans, or who did it better, I like the idea of them teaming up. They're never going to compete anyway. And there was never really a need for that, because Ronda was queen of 135 and Kayla was queen at 155. But now Kayla is at 135. That is Ronda's old weight. And I don't think she's fighting the idea or the images of Ronda. She did it in judo. She greatly surpassed Ronda in judo, but she never mentioned it. She never told anybody. She didn't let the story be told that way. I just like the idea of them coming together. And by the way, what about this specialty business that I'm told isn't real? How far down that roster should we go? This is off the top of my head. Dricus du Plessis, Greco-Roman wrestling, tasked with the national team, all the training camps in South Africa. I don't know that we have somebody who isn't a specialist. And it's a very interesting concept, because Kayla's not going to get away from that. As much as people want to tell her to, they want to tell her, hey, go out there, this is MMA, and you got to trade the hands, and you got to throw some kicks. Like, I do see her doing a little bit of that. But that's another one of these false narratives. And every coach will do it. And every rider will do it. And your teammates will do it. You as the athlete are never going to be bigger and above it. You are going to fall for that. But every bit of time that you spend trying to round out your game, you get the same amount of energy and you're putting the same amount of time in the gym each day. It is simply a question of what are you going to focus on. So as one goes up, your boxing goes up, your kickboxing goes up, something else comes down. And Kayla is the only one who hasn't gotten away from that. She will spend the time, she will learn the technique, she will have a plan B in case she can get to a plan B, but she's never going to use it until plan A failed and is completely exhausted. She's somebody that is truly representing judo. It's really an incredible dynamic. She's taken on a jiu-jitsu black belt. I mean, the oldest question that we've got all the way to 1993 is what happens when you cross arts? I would have always wanted to know. I was a wrestler, never bragged about wrestling, didn't know it was superior. And it turned out it wasn't the absolute best. In fact, Mark Schultz, a wrestling Olympic champion, is the one that told me the only thing that could beat wrestling is jiu-jitsu. And I like to look at it from this aspect. If Kayla's going to win 10-1, how's she going to do it? Is she going to follow that judo? Most likely. Is she going to get on top? Most likely. But she's taken on a jiu-jitsu black belt. Do you believe she's going to blow past the guard? Do you believe she's going to submit her? Do you believe she's going to try to find an armbar? Like, all of those things would be very interesting. It's really a built-in part. And you want to talk about discipline, which is a greatly misused term in our sport. It's not just what different styles do you know. The discipline comes here. Do you have the discipline to go out and do what got you here, to dance with the one that brought you, to not look for the oohs and ahs of the crowd? Kayla is in a tournament. Should she come out, she will advance to the finals. Her opponent will be found out later in the evening, and whoever that opponent is will have a world championship. We're in a tournament, and it's awesome. I love tournaments. And that's only part of it. It's already been stated that Raychick and Uncle Liev will draw into the winner of Roundtree Pereira. It's a tournament. That's a 4-man tournament. Happened on accident, but it's happening nonetheless. DraftKings is very confident that Kayla is going to advance to the next round, which doesn't only mean Kayla's going to get her opponent down, it means she's going to beat her when she gets there. Do you agree with that?